Everything in the world today is black and white. It seems that everything is shades of gray. And that even goes for some of our printers. Some of them only print in black and/or shades of gray. I wanted to show you that if you don't have a color printer, or if you don't want to use your color ink and you want to just print images in black and white, that there's a way to make these colorful that you can use in your journal. They'll be fun, they'll be happy, and I think you'll have a blast doing this. So in front of you is an assortment of different images that I printed out. And I printed them out in both a combination of black and white and grayscale. And I really didn't see much difference between those two. So here's some of those images, and here's a few more. And you can see some of these are very faint when you print them out in black and white, which is great because it makes it easy when you go to color them. And that's what I'm going to suggest that you do. In most cases, is use colored pencils. Now, you know my love of colored pencils, and I have a Prisma colored pencils that I use them daily. I honestly use them every single day. And so I'm going to show you what these images look like after I've colored them up. So let's start going through them. I'll just put down the black and white version, and then I'll show you my colored version and what I did. So here I really just used the highlights that are in this already and gave him some cheeks, and I did not do it in the traditional pink. I used a gold just to make it something a little bit different. And I outlined his eyes, and then on his crown, because the back was gray and I really didn't want to put another color over that, I just made black dots. And I have one of these stencils that I think everybody should have. They're just great because you can use all the different sizes, and you'll see that I actually use this quite a bit in some of my colorings. So there's one guy, so you can see he's just colored up. And I went back in and just highlighted those checks in his vest just with a black marker. Here's another one. Now this is an owl, and here he is. And you can see I changed him up just a little bit. Sometimes I added things to these just to make them more interesting, and that's something you can definitely do. So again, I just colored around his white marks that were here, added pink, and highlighted his eyes, and then just put a little bit of white pen across his crown. Here's a girl, and here's how she turned out. And colored her hair 2 shades of turquoise and a green. And I really like to use that combination. You're going to see it a lot. I'm going to get my colors here for you. It's these 3. And I think they go together so great. So I used them a lot. And then I gave her just pink cheeks. Her eyes are lavender. And I added some lashes and some yellow under her eyes, which I do frequently. You will notice in a lot of mine, I will put some kind of color under the eye. It's just something I do. It's just a habit. Then this is black, and again, I used this and just put white dots down the front of her little jumper there. And I intensified this black just with black pencil, and then colored up the rest of her. Here's another one. So once again, you can see now that I cut away the backs on these, and I do that because I want them against a white background in my journal. So while she looks really dark here, when you cut away the background, it looks lighter. So I didn't do anything with her hair. I focused everything on her face. So I did a lot of coloring in her eyes and her cheeks, and I really intensified because she sort of has a goth look about her and intense. I went ahead and just played up that intensification on her. Put a little bit of green down on her neck, and then just brought some highlights of pink. And if you can see this, there's just slight highlights there, and you can use those to your advantage to figure out exactly how you want to color this in. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw this one, and it's in my journal, and I'll insert the picture here for you to see the colored version. And on this one, what I did is I just colored it up and added a border, and it really made it pop. Here's another one, and she's not quite as vibrant, but she still kind of pops off the page. And on her, I just colored up her cap and her roses on her head. And then when I did her glasses, I first did them in a green, and I thought that they could show up a little bit more, so then that's when I just did the black and white check. And that doodling really makes a difference. Once again, I took advantage of the shadowing that you can see here and along here, and just highlighted those again with pink, yellow, and a little bit of gold, and just sort of mixed my colors there, and it really makes a difference. I colored in her hands and then her fingernails as well. Colored in her eyes, and pretty much everything on her. She had a lot of coloring, but it doesn't take long to do. It really doesn't. Okay, this is another one. This is what she looks like. And here again, I colored her up. And there really wasn't a whole lot to do on her. I made her hair purple, and then gave her some green eyes, put on her blush, her bow, and just colored the front of her dress right here. And that was pretty much it for her. Okay, this next one is going to look really different to you. So there it is. This one was very faint, and that was great because I knew I had plans how I wanted to color it. And here's how she looks that I've colored her up. And you can see her face. I changed her face dramatically by just opening. I put green around her eyes, made her black eyeballs a little bigger, and then put a white dot with just a white marker on top of that. And then used my pen to go around her eyes just to make it a little more abstract. And then on her coat, I just colored it in, and I did the very same thing. I took one of these circles with a black marker and just filled those in. And before I did the black, let's see, how did I do this? I did the black marker first, so I put this down, found the circle size I wanted, just went around it. And it's important to do just halves sometimes, so it's not all just big circles in there. And then when I colored it in, I wanted to leave a white border around each of the circles. So I drew my orange around so I would be sure not to encroach where that white is. And then I filled it in. And then I used my pen just like on her eyes and just made sketchy circles around there. On her legs, all I did was just take a black marker and make stripes, and then I colored in her shoes. And just put her little scarf here in blue. Okay, now this is, the butterflies are very faint, and this is what they look like after I colored them in. Now my plan was to cut these out individually, so I didn't worry about the background. Now one of the things I'm sure you're going to probably be concerned about is, how do you know what colors to use? Well, you can do a couple different things. You can use a color wheel if you want. You can just go with any colors that you think go well together, or you can use the original. And that would be something that you would look at online because you wouldn't want to print it out. But I printed it out for you to see this is what the original looked like when I found it online. So you can see that I mirrored the colors. You know, I tend to make them a little more vibrant, but you know, it's pretty much the same. And on this, there's a very faint background, which I could have done here as well. It's almost like a coffee dyed paper. But like I said, I'm going to cut these out individually, so I didn't do that. And the last one I want to show you is this one. Now this may happen with some of yours. Sometimes they're just too dark. There's no way you could really color this. And this is in grayscale or black and white, so that's as light as it's going to get. But when it has a big area like this, you can use that to your advantage. And here's what I did. So I had some paper that I thought would look good. I love this word abundance right there. And I pulled this out of, I don't know, one of my Somerset magazines, I think. In fact, it is out of Somerset. You'll see it here. And then I went in and just, you can see where I cut this out. So here's where it was. And I went in and just cut around her hands and down here. So her arms would still be attached. And that way, I could bring her arm in front. And you could use this as a template, but you don't really need to. All you really need to do is just cut a square and set it behind the picture. So when I flip this over, you can see how I did that. So you just set it behind, because you've cut this out, set it behind there. I used tape to secure it. And then when I get ready to put this in my journal, I'll go ahead and just cut this out. So see, there's a lot of things you can do. You can, you know, paper piece like this. You can color, you can use your markers, Copics, a lot of different things. And I hope you give it a try, because it really will, if you don't have a color printer, this gives you the option to use some color in your journal. I thought you might like to see how I used the images in my journal. So the two images I'm going to show you were in my Glue Book art journal. And the first one is this one. So here was the black and white version of it. And then this is how it looks now. So again, I just cut her out. I put a set of butterfly wings behind her. And then this was an ad that I got from a magazine. It just had this word humdinger, and I thought it was perfect. I liked the way that looked. So I'm not through with her, obviously, but you get the idea. I wanted you to see how it looks when you finally put it in your journal. The second one is this one, and she looks quite a bit different. So she started out as this, and remember I had mentioned that I changed her eyes. I added some wings behind her, which I don't normally do the wing thing, but it just seemed appropriate for these. And then I had some a new download from Nancy Ballmiller, and it from Crow About Studio, and I'm going to put the link to the kits below. And so these borders were part of that kit, and it's a digital download. I really like the way it turned out, so I just put this around her. This background paper is also from that kit. And then I just set her on there. I put some little horn things. You guys, I drew these, by the way. You know, I say I can't draw, but I drew those. And she's not done either, but she's, you know, this is the starting point for finishing her up. And I'm not really sure what else I'm going to do to her, but I just like the way she looks. So isn't it amazing? You go from the black and white to the color and what it can do. And that's just colored pencils. So give it a try. It's a lot of fun. And you know, it's not only a lot of fun, but you can do it. You really can. It's very simple. So let's move on to tips and tricks. So I'm not going to do a tutorial on coloring because there's millions of YouTube videos showing how to color. And I am no coloring expert, so I am not going to do a tutorial. But I did want to talk to you about a couple things to do with coloring. So as I told you, I use the Prismacolor, and these are not inexpensive, but I have to say I think they're really worth it. I use them every single day, as I mentioned before, and these are a waxed-based pencil, and they allow you to do two things. They allow you to put on lots of layers, which I recommend that you do. Use thin layers to build up your images. Like on this, I used a lot of just very light hand in applying my color, and I'd come back and I would do more. So that's one thing to think about. And as you apply color, especially with these, you can get some blending that goes on with them. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The second thing is if you really want to blend your color, like I did on this image, so you really can't see any pencil lines, but it's all like one color, then what you can use are these are called tortillions, I think, and they're just really rolled up paper. And you use these in conjunction with mineral spirits, and I just keep mine in a little glass jar like this. And you dip this in, and then you just basically go like this and you spread the color. Here, let me show you on this, because the color on that is, let me come in a little bit. So you can see how you can see a little bit of the pencil marks. And when you apply this, it sort of takes it away. I'm not showing it up great, but you get the idea. And that's all you do. And it really gives a nice effect. And this, these are not real expensive, nor is the mineral spirits. You can get that anywhere. And these you can find at Michael's, or I don't know if Joann's has them, but Michael's definitely has them. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is, again, make sure you apply light layers. That's really the important thing, where you can build up your color and you'll get a really nice finish when you do that. Now this one I just colored her up, and I really didn't even apply, except for right in here, more than one layer. I just went ahead and just colored them in lightly. Some of these other images that we went through today are going to show up in zine number 4, and I have some plans for them, and I'll come back at a later date and show you what it's going to look like. But keep on the lookout for that, and you'll see how I use those images. That's it for now. If you have any questions, of course, leave them down below and I'll get back to you. And I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.